her whole view of how she does her show, because she started off, Oprah was very scandalous, and she did ask the hard questions, and that was her whole game, was that she asked the hard questions, and she'd bring in these people that were either the newsmakers of the day, or of right then, or people that had undergone a horrible catastrophe in their life, and she would bring the stuff out of them. So I think Oprah, I mean, in many ways, is a great interviewer, because she asks the questions that, you know, somebody at home might want to ask. Her show is not necessarily a news show, it's more of a talk show. But Oprah, you know, Oprah definitely has a way of connecting to the audience. I think that's a big part of broadcast journalism, at least, because you want somebody to trust you and relate to you enough that they want to turn you on every single night to deliver the news and stuff. So she's one. You know, I think Matt Lauer right now, I mean, I think he's a great interviewer. I think Brian Williams is really good. I think David Gregory is doing a really good job on Meet the Press. I think, you know, Barbara Walters is always going to be an icon for a lot of female journalists, because she was kind of a trailblazer for a lot of people. You know, Diane Sawyer, I think, is a good, really a good journalist, and you know, anybody who is willing to ask the tough questions without attacking the interviewee. I think that's a sign of a good journalist.
Do you have sort of like an example in mind of something like a news package that was recent, that was done in a really effective way, and that you felt related to the public, really true news?
Well, I think today, I mean, even the Fort Hood massacre, I mean, you saw today some incredible pieces of journalism, and that they really covered how much of an impact those shootings really had on that tight-knit community. I mean, Fort Hood is like its own little country. And, you know, just hearing from the people that were on the base, people that saw the shootings, I mean, that had a lot of impact. And I think any time where you can tell a story about something that happened thousands of miles away and make somebody at home that has no relation to the Army, no relation to anything that was going on there, feel for those people, that's the sign of a good story.
Do you think the general public has trust in their news provider? And if so?
I hope so. I think, you know, I think that if they keep tuning in every single night, then they have a certain amount of trust. I think the way people get their news is changing, and that's something that everybody has to adapt to. You can't necessarily like resent it. You have to just kind of accept that it's going more digital, that it's the internet is a huge part of journalism right now. Newspapers, I don't think are completely going away. Some people would argue that they are. I think there are certain people that will always want to get their morning newspaper and always want to physically flip through those pages. And also broadcast. I mean, there's news is so much a routine for so many people. I mean, you're definitely kind of a part of their lives every single day. I mean, there's a lot of people that every single night they turn on the 6 o'clock news, and they've been doing it for 30 years. There's people out there that they read the newspaper every single morning. That's what they do.
Is that generation dying? I mean, this new generation in the next, 20 years, when that routine is no longer established, what does that look like?
Well, I think humans by nature are centered around routine. So it may be a new routine, it may be a different routine, it may be logging onto a website, it may be, watching a different form of television, or, who knows what the future may hold. But, maybe the way that journalism is delivered is changing, but I don't think the fact that people are getting it every single day at a certain time. Now it's more instantaneous. I mean, the news is, the second something happens, it's on the internet, it's on TV. It's not, I think the days of, you find out what happened that day every single morning when you get your newspaper, or when you turn on Walter Cronkite, those days are done, because there's just too many resources out there.
How much pressure does that put on the newsroom to keep up with that?
It's a tremendous amount of pressure, because you want to be, our motto here, and I think what the motto is at a lot of local news stations, is that you want to, whatever is happening right now that's affecting people, that's having an impact on their lives, that's compelling, you want to be the first to have it on. That's one of our number one goals, is to be the first to have it, to be first on scene, be the first to report it. That's important to us.
Dealing with that pressure, has this newsroom ever sort of fudged or lied or left out an important detail to kind of meet the deadline, avoid a scandal? How common is that in the newsroom?
Not common at all, and I'd hope never. I think if that happened, we'd be out of business. You can't. That's just not good journalistic ethics. That's not who we are about. We pride ourselves on being, following good ethical standards.
Do you think that blogs and citizen journalism as like a threat to the newscasts?
I don't think it's a threat to the newscast, because at the end of the day, I think people will still want to tune in or seek out the facts, where blogs are just, they serve a purpose because they are so popular, and right now you see a lot of the news organizations going on the blogs and being a part of Twitter, or being a part of Facebook, or being a part of MySpace and all these different forms of social networking, because that's just a part of everybody's lives, and they want to be a part of that too. But I think at the end of the day, the facts are the facts. And even when you look at sheer numbers and ratings, we were talking about how CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, how they're becoming more and more popular. When you're looking at the sheer numbers, people are still tuning into the nightly news. Brian Williams, Charlie Gibson, or soon to be Diane Sawyer and Katie Couric. And those are straight newscasts. And those numbers are still far and away bigger than the cable. Yeah.
Have you ever felt pressure from your producers or directors to look, dress, act, or position yourself in a certain way? Or even from your viewers?
Well, everybody has an opinion, so somebody might not like, from the physical standpoint, somebody may not like my hair or what I'm wearing that day, and that's their opinion. I think I always want to try to project a very professional and trustworthy and down-to-earth persona, somebody that, somebody would feel like would be an easy member of their family. That's kind of the image I want to portray. And, of course, anytime you're in a visual medium, there's always going to be pressure to make sure you look your best, for sure. And, but as far as the way to act, if my bosses and producers didn't like the way that I acted or the way I portrayed myself, then I don't think I'd have the job that I have. That's part of it. That's just the nature of the business, yeah.
What is your perception of free news? Do you think that news should be free?
Yes.
And do you think when you're, as a news consumer, how do you determine what is, good, valid news versus bad news?
Bad news meaning what?
Bad news meaning non-valid, very dense, not transparent.
Well, I think that when you're getting your information, it all starts with how you're getting your information, whether or not you're hearing it over the scanners, whether you're reading it on the AP, whether you're getting it over the wires, whether you're seeing it on CNN. That's... Are you going to have to tape something?
Yeah.
You are?
Keep going.
Alright, we'll wait till you're done. T.O.
It's in the middle of the package.
Is this okay?
Yeah, it's fine. He says tape something. We'll take a break for a second.